Good.
All right.
All right, Liz, I'm rolling.
All right, good. Joe.
So, Karen, just explain to me what is on Little Lewis right here.
Stay back there. All right.
Because when we started this 19 years ago, just after Lewis passed away, I don't know who took that. It was one of his classmates, but it was the Friday before he passed away. Just a handful of them back then, and then there's some other boys and girls in here that have worn number 12 in honor of Lewis.
It's not necessarily the survivor, but their families that you talk to, and, you know, they're honestly the ones that, you know, you can really relate to the most.
We called for the automated defibrillator. When we shocked him, he gasped, and I saw his heart start to beat through his chest wall.
And it's fair to say Muhammad's heart beats today because Lewis's parents turned their pain into a passion.
I know this school and this community suffered a tragedy before September 11th in the death of Lewis Acompora. Today, we have a new law, a law that will require automatic external defibrillators in every school, in every community, all across this state.
Karen, let me just thank you for your courage, and I just hope no other family in America has to go through what you have, and that every family shows the dignity and the courage that you and your husband have shown. And
thank you all very much, and I want to personally thank everyone for coming here tonight. This was a big endeavor, and I just can't even believe this room is filled with almost 700 people, so thank you all very much.
I refer to our foundation as all of us, and that's true. I've often said that Lewis is driving the bus, and we're all just on board. But I gotta be honest with you, every good organization has a backbone. And I gotta say, the backbone of this foundation is Karen.
My 14-year-old son, Lewis, died from sudden cardiac arrest. He was wearing, oh God, I forgot what playing game he loved.
Okay. He just had a special quality about him, and I guess our goal is he's not going to be forgotten. Possibly he was put on this earth for a purpose, and if the purpose of Lewis's being was to save lives, then we're going to do everything we can to help that purpose.
On the field, Lewis was a leader. Always had command of what was going on. The game came very, very naturally to him. Nothing ever got him down. And off the field, just a great person. Caring. He'd see somebody that wasn't having a good day and he'd make it a point to go over and try to lift them up.
In the morning of March 25th, I actually remember I was sick that day. I was playing on the JV lacrosse team and we had a scrimmage, and Lewis was on the freshman team and they had their first game against West Islip. I remember talking to Lewis the night before and telling him good luck in his first high school game. And
it was a routine away game. We went down to West Islip. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary that day. It was just a normal warm-up and the normal game that started. When it happened, I remember I had just coming off shift. I had come to the sideline, grabbed a water.
I was a defenseman on the team, so I was on the back half of the field towards the goal by where Lewis was. It was a routine shot from the other team. Lewis blocked it like he normally does and picked up the ball. He said break, which would start our process of everyone getting to where they go to run our breakout. And Lewis ran behind the cage and took a couple steps out of the crease and fell. I remember yelling at him to get up. When I got to him, was laying down. kind of looking up at the sky, breathing real heavy, and I was just telling him to get up. He had to get back into play. And he wasn't responding at all, and I just started waving towards the sideline. Somebody get out here to come help him. Everything seemed to happen so quick. I remember the Acomporas went on the field, the trainer went on the field, and the next thing we knew, an ambulance was coming and Lewis was being taken away.
I actually remember getting a phone call. I was home with my mom, and we got a phone call from my dad and my brother, and they were both hysterically crying. They had heard what happened and told us, got home, and we all really weren't sure if it was true, so we got in the car and went down to Good Samaritan Hospital in West Islip, where they had brought Lewis after the accident.
And the next thing I remember was just being in my bedroom and my mom opening the door, and she just said, he's gone. I'm so sorry.
Five seconds left. Hey, Mitty!
20 years since I've seen Lou. I have probably thought about Lou every day in my life. And, you know, the tough times, the happy times, you know.
It changed everything in our town, in our house, in our circle of friends. After the incident was like black and white. You know, there was no sound in the world. I remember, you know, going into the commons at the high school that following Monday, and there were grief counselors, and there were circles of people crying, and it was dead silent. You know, people were in shock. It was scary.
Do you know, back when this immediately happened, I don't think that, John, I know we did not equate right away that the ball had something to do with Lewis passing away. Honestly, we kind of just thought, like, what was wrong with him? What caused that, not thinking that it could have been the ball? I know, I can tell you that by the time the ambulance got there, it was forever. And it was 15 minutes. We were unprepared in the fact that no one had a defibrillator. Police were not trained as first responders then. Lewis did have the benefit of a trainer there and his coach, who both knew CPR and did start that immediately. However, with every minute that passes and defibrillation is not administered when someone is in ventricular fibrillation, your chance of survival drops by 10%. So at 15 minutes, as best as the trainer and the coaches did, Lewis did not have a chance at survival.
Lewis was blessed with wonderful parents who loved him and admired their son's very special gifts. Karen and John, along with Alyssa, have, you know, devoted their lives to Lewis's memory and to the precious work of the Memorial Foundation. Let's hear more about that right now. It's a pleasure, an honor, once again, to introduce Lewis's father. Please welcome John.
Most of you who were here last year, I don't know if you remember, a year and a half ago, I said, please, don't thank us, don't thank Karen and I. When you hear someone being saved by a defibrillator, if you could, take a moment, remember Lewis, and give yourselves a pat on the back. And I hope that tonight, you people give yourself 7 pats on the back for these people that are alive because of your efforts, not ours. When we started this foundation and we realized that we could make a change, it was all in.
Yeah.
There were 20 other kids on that team that I personally coached and loved. And we knew we had to make a difference, and it wasn't going to be, well, let's just try and see what happens. We were all in, and I remember when we kind of put a little board together at the time of people who are still with us until this day. I remember saying, whatever we do in Lewis's name, either we're going to do it to the best of our ability, top shelf, we're not going to cut any corners, or I'd rather not take that project on.
It's true. And once we decided, yeah, this is what we could do, we were like, full steam ahead and get out of our way, because we're making this happen.
I'm Caitlin Forbes, and I'm 17 years old, and I go to Rhinebeck High School, and I'm a senior this year. It was May 11th in 2005, and I was in gym class, and we were playing softball. I fell into cardiac arrest after I hit the ball when I was rounding first base, and I just collapsed.
Even having survived it, I didn't really know what I survived or that it was a problem. I thought it was just like a freak accident. That's weird. I don't have to worry about that ever again. But then to find out that there's this whole family of survivors and parents that lost their kids from what I survived, it's just amazing that all of these people have come together for such a great cause to try to prevent this from happening to anyone else.
Today, we have a new law, a law that will require automatic external defibrillators in every school, in every community, all across this state. It will save lives. It will save thousands of lives. It will be Louis Acompora's law. It will be the Northport Class of 2002 law to protect the people of our great state. Thank you. God bless you. It's great being here with you this afternoon.
I first heard about the tragedy involving Louis from John and Karen, who deserve so much credit for taking a personal tragedy and looking to turn it into something that would save lives and help others. And it's just always incredible to me how parents going through such sadness and such an emotional trauma turn their grief into something positive. And certainly John and Karen did this in a way that has saved lives, many lives.
The year's 2015, and I'm going to my little brother's baseball game. We and my other brother decided, let's hit some baseballs in the batting cage, let's get some work in while we're here. There's a batting cage. I kind of stepped out from behind the L screen. I tossed him one because he hadn't hit anything all day, didn't think he was gonna hit much, and he lined it back in my chest real hard.
When he got hit, one of the other kids that was with them came and ran and got me and said, Jack's hurt. And you could tell he was alarmed, so I just ran over there, and by the time I got there, he was on the ground. His face was all bloody because he had hit his face on the way down.
On the day of Jack's incident, I was at the baseball field for my son's game. There were 4 people that were hovering over Jack when I got to the batting cage. We immediately knew that he didn't have a pulse. The paramedic went to get the AED. The nurse that was there was trying to position him safely so that we could administer breaths if were needed. And I started cardiac compressions with Dr. Lieto.
Dr. Keith was one of the people who helped resuscitate me. And he's, ever since it happened, he was always very modest. I didn't do much and blah, blah, blah. But he doesn't realize he helped save my life just as much as anyone else that day. They deserve a thank you. They deserve the world because they saved mine, so.
My parents and myself receive some sort of relief when we see these people being saved by AEDs. You're able to, realize that you've made a difference in a lot of people and all these wonderful families that we've gotten to encounter with that, we probably never would have known. So I really see Louis in them.
I am very proud to be the 25th life saved under Louis's law. John, I know, often talks about the ripple effect of lives that have been saved as a result of Louis's law and placing AEDs in athletic clubs and things like that. But we now have over 100 lives saved. As challenging as it is to be a survivor, I'm always thrilled to add to the survivor number, to build this community of survivors. and really to think of us as Lewis's legacy. I often say I'm number 25 in Lewis's legacy.
So I remember I was sitting with my wife, and in walked a woman and a young lady. The young lady introduced herself as Leah, and the woman said, and I'll never forget these words, I'm not a professional speaker, I'm a florist. My name was Karen Acompora. And that changed my life at that moment. Karen started to speak about what happened to her family and what happened to Lewis and what they were doing about it. And I turned around to my wife and I said, this is what we need to do. So I saw in Karen strength, I saw wisdom, I saw dedication, I saw a mission. It was my determination to try and help Karen that made all the difference in my life.
Both Karen and myself can be relentless when we get a bug in our head. And I think relentless is a good word. I honestly and truly know deep down inside that by putting AEDs in schools are gonna save lives. And you can't put a price tag on one life, let alone the life of a student athlete, the life of a kid that's doing the right thing, doing what he's supposed to be doing. Someday, somewhere, a young athlete, a young student is going to be saved with an AED, and they're going to have Lewis to thank for it.
June 15th, 2011, I was 15 years old. I was headed to my lacrosse tryouts for the Section 3 All-Star team. We were doing some basic drills, and after about 15 or 20 minutes, we got into some more offense versus defense type drills. And I slid to the man I was covering, and he took a shot, and I did my best to get out of the way, and unfortunately the ball struck me in my side. I immediately fell, and the next thing I knew, I was woken up in the back of an ambulance. On the way to the hospital, they kind of told me roughly what had happened. You know, I still really fundamentally didn't understand, hey, my heart had stopped, I'd been, dead for 5 or 6 minutes and need to be resuscitated.
Everything fell into place. Thankfully for all of that training, the CPR and the AED training, if they wouldn't have had that, my son wouldn't be here today. I thank God every day that I have that. The phone rings and he calls on his way home from work. I have that. And nobody can take that away from me now. I mean, it can happen in a blink of an eye and you don't even realize it. And I'm so lucky.
The story about Dan from upstate New York, it's truly remarkable. The fact that people just sprung into action right away and saved his life it's really kind of unthinkable. I mean, 20 years ago, to be honest, Lewis didn't have a shot. And what everyone's done and the Acomporas have done with the foundation over the last 20 years, you think about that kid was kind of in the same place Lewis was, and he survived because of Lewis, and he was back to playing lacrosse the next day because of Lewis.
We have a son named Lewis, named after my brother, and I think my parents smiled once that child was born, because he really has brought a lot of joy to all our lives. Lewis plays lacrosse. He plays on the Northport One in Spirit LA12 team. It has become his passion and his drive. And, I kind of sometimes see myself and my brother in my 2 children. We were best of friends, and I remind them that every day and that they're going to be the best of friends.
It's amazing, but there's over 100 people like me that are getting to live their lives when it could have been taken away from them.
You've saved people from going through the ultimate disaster in life. You've turned your pain into action out of your love for your fellow human beings, and I'm eternally grateful for that.
Something horrible happened to Lewis, and something beautiful has come out of it, which is the recognition that there's a way to avoid this happening to another person.
Lives went on and people went back to their daily routines, and it's amazing to think about that so many people have been affected positively because of this.
I think he's looking down on a lot of us and helping us guide us through our lives.
Lewis was an incredible person, and he would say something goofy if he
You
saw
want to
us.
stick a gum for $1?
I have to remind myself every day how lucky I am to be here. And I absolutely can't forget it, because I owe it to the people who kept me here. I owe it to Lewis, I owe it to the Acomporas, I owe it to the people who rescued me to never forget what they did for me and to never take my life for granted.
It's good. It is good to be alive. It's very, very good to be alive. Come without Lewis, that would never have happened, ever.
What is the cost when someone 14, 15, 17, 18, in the prime of their life and health, is killed in an incident such as the tragedy that took Lewis's life? What is the price of that? You cannot put a price on that. You cannot put a price tag on the over 100 lives this law has already saved. Look at it that way, and there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't have Lewis's law in every state in this country.
We have met some remarkable, remarkable people. People that we've known all of our lives. Family, friends, community, Lewis's friends, Alyssa's friends. For two of the unluckiest people on earth, we truly are blessed in a different way.